investing in our climate-safe future.
That grant made a huge impact for this facility.
How CalRecycle grants are making a difference for our communities. Plus new support to make it easier for Californians to cash in their bottles and cans. And the latest news on California's drive to build the nation for a circular economy. CalRecycle's monthly public meeting starts now.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us for CalRecycle's March 2023 public meeting. This meeting is by Californians for Californians as we work together to protect our communities and fight climate change. Let's watch a quick reminder before we start.
El idioma no debe ser una barrera cuando se trata de proteger nuestro aire, nuestra agua y tierra. CalRecycle está transmitiendo simultáneamente esta junta pública en español e inglés. Puede encontrar el enlace en línea en español e inglés en la parte superior de nuestra página web calrecycle.ca.gov. Language shouldn't be a barrier when it comes to protecting our air, water, and land. CalRecycle is simulcasting this meeting in English and Spanish. Click the public meeting banner at the top of calrecycle.ca.gov for a link to our webcasts in both English and Spanish.
Our first agenda item today is the Director's Report. Director Rachel Mackey-Wagner joins us now with some important updates. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for those of you who have joined us in person and those of you that are with us remotely. We have a lot of really exciting progress to share with all of you this morning, so we'll jump right in. Wanted to give everybody a reminder that the SB 54 advisory board applications are due by this Friday, so if you are planning on applying, please refer to the statute and to CalRecycle's website to submit your application. Second, on today's report is that CalRecycle is holding an informal SB 54 public workshop on March 29th. That is next Wednesday, I believe, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We've posted resources from our last information session, which centered on the needs assessment and producer responsibility advisory board. Third on the agenda today is another reminder. I want to thank everybody who participated in last week's SB 1215. That is our expansion of the e-waste program legislation. Be sure to sign up for our listserv for emails related to SB 1215 implementation if you would like to participate in that rulemaking process. This 2022 law expands California's covered electronic recycling program to fund the collection and recycling of many battery-embedded products like cell phones. So this is going to be a very comprehensive process in terms of updates to our current program and regulation development. So we would love to have those of you who are interested participating. Fourth on my agenda today is regarding our organics recycling program. Our next monthly SB 1383 chat with CalRecycle happens on Wednesday, April 19th at 1 p.m. This one will be focused on local education agencies for local agencies. So this one, I think, goes out primarily to our local partners. Please come and join us. I think this is a great opportunity for some peer-to-peer conversation. So a lot of updates on calendars. And so as we have so many moving parts happening at CalRecycle, we will be putting a calendar icon on our website within the next couple of weeks, hopefully, so that you can go to our website and not have to come to the public meetings or listen to the public meetings to get updates on all of the various activities that are happening in the department. And lastly today, I wanted to give our update regarding our wildfire recovery efforts. Due to the weather over the last month that we are all experiencing across the state of California, our Siskiyou County efforts have slowed to a near stop, most days a stop, and crews will be resuming cleanup of the 6 remaining properties and hazardous tree removal once it is safe to do so. So We are all super grateful for the rain, but we do not do our recovery work when it is not safe. So that sums up everything I had to share today. Maria, back to you.
Thanks so much. CalRecycle has $154 million in grants available for communities to grow their composting, anaerobic digestion, and organics recycling infrastructure. Ahead of next month's grant application deadline, let's take a look at how a CalRecycle-funded composting project is making a difference in our communities.
By turning food scraps and yard clippings into climate-fighting compost, Northern Recycling's new facility saves Californians money while saving the planet. The Yolo County compost facility opened in 2022 with the help of $3 million in funds from CalRecycle.
That grant made a huge impact for this facility. It allowed us to offer a lower tipping fee to customers.
Landfilled organic waste emits 20% of California's methane, a climate super pollutants with 84 times more heat-trapping power than carbon dioxide. Making compost from organic waste creates a beneficial new product that helps soil retain more water, nourishes California's crops, and pulls planet-heating carbon dioxide from the air. Northern Recycling processes over 180,000 tons of material a year, and it all starts with your food scraps and yard clippings.
We receive the organic waste. Processing line does about 60 to 70 tons per hour. And that processing line helps us size reduce contamination from the line with manual sortation. It helps us reduce the size of the material, but also prepare it for the composting process.
And it doesn't stop there. Once the pre-processing equipment filters out any remaining contaminants, a cutting-edge technology speeds up the composting process, breaking down the material in just 70 days.
We have 4 75 horsepower fans that blow air through the compost piles 24/7. We're able to efficiently reduce the pathogens in the piles and efficiently break down the material, but also reduce emissions compared to older forms of composting.
Northern Recycling helps communities meet California's organics recycling requirements to cut landfill climate pollution. Manager Will Kelly says the new facility still can't keep up with the high demand for compost in the region.
We are maxed out. We're looking to expand the facility in the future so then we can accept additional material and help divert additional tons away from the landfill.
With the help of an expanding compost industry, California is turning organic waste into valuable new products to build a circular economy for the state's zero waste future.
California is always working to maximize existing infrastructure to keep more food and yard waste out of landfills. Deputy Director Zoe Heller has our next agenda item. Good morning, Zoe.
Good morning, Maria. CalRecycle is awarding a $3.9 million co-digestion grant to the LA County Sanitation District. The California Climate Investment will help expand their biogas fueling station and conditioning infrastructure to boost publicly owned treatment work's beneficial use of biogas. The project will also offer in-person tours and webinars to increase awareness of the district's food waste recycling program. The remaining $5.5 million in Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund allocation will be used to fund co-digestion projects in the current round of organics grants. Today, we're also announcing $9.2 million for local projects to boost beverage container recycling and litter reduction in 414 cities and counties. The Beverage Container Recycling City-County Payment Program provides annual funding for California communities to help meet the state's 80% beverage container recycling goal. The funds will help communities do a number of things, including purchase CRV recycling bins, assist with curbside or drop-off beverage container recycling programs, cut litter, and expand bottle and can recycling projects in underserved areas. CalRecycle has also awarded 13 new beverage container recycling grant projects. The $3 million will help fund things like water refill stations, CRV recycling bins, education and outreach, and other bottle and can collection activities. I approved these awards based on staff recommendation. Next on the agenda, Culver City is expanding its mobile beverage container recycling pilot project to stay open 7 days a week. CalRecycle has awarded $500,000 to Southern California Recycling for the project, which features a mobile redemption center that rotates between 2 different locations.
Thanks, Zoe. PET processing payments for recyclers are going up. Deputy Director Amy Cameron joins us with an update.
Good morning. CalRecycle has recalculated the processing payment, and the adjusted amount will kick in April 1st. Here's a quick video breaking down how processing payments work.
California passed its bottle bill in 1986 to cut litter and landfilling. It worked. We went from recycling 6 billion bottles and cans the first year to 18.6 billion. In 2021, the program had a 68% recycling rate for beverage containers. Over the last 3 decades, Californians recycled 463 billion beverage containers and built a robust in-state recycling economy to turn old materials into new products. We did it by laying the groundwork for a circular economy for beverage containers. Most beverage containers in California have a California Refund Value, or CRV. CRV is paid by the businesses that sell the beverage containers. Distributors are paid back by retailers like grocery stores. Retailers are then paid back by consumers with an added 5 or 10 cents per bottle at checkout. Finally, the CRV can be redeemed and the deposit redeemed when the bottle is brought back to a recycling center. Recycling centers take in bottles and cans and redeem CRV but do not make money from CRV. Their profit comes from selling bottles and cans for scrap value. For decades, recycling centers thrive with strong markets and high scrap value for aluminum. Not all materials have such high scrap value, however, and for materials that are more expensive to recycle than their scrap value, like plastic and glass, California's bottle bill law established processing payments to help bridge the gap between the cost of recycling and the scrap value of a given material. The formula for calculating the processing payment is set in statute. It's the difference between the cost of recycling modified to account for the cost of living and a reasonable financial return, and the 12-month average scrap value for a given material. CalRecycle follows the legally mandated formula to determine processing payments, which fluctuate based on market conditions like changes in scrap value for material. Since processing payments are intended to fill the gap between the cost of recycling and the scrap value, as global scrap values go up, the level of processing payments CalRecycle can legally pay to recycling centers goes down. These processing payments are paid from a combination of beverage manufacturer fees and unredeemed California bottle and can deposits. The law requires CalRecycle to adjust processing payments at the start of each new year based on a material's average scrap value over the previous 12-month period. Using a 12-month average to set the processing payment for the following year has historically provided a measure of predictability for the recycling industry. However, the time lag built into the formula means that at any given moment, processing payment will not perfectly map onto the scrap value. This recently caused a problem for PET plastic processing payment rates. From fall 2021 to spring 2022, the scrap value for PET plastic spiked due to factors such as the rising price of oil, but then tumbled into the fall of 2022. Since the processing payment for 2023 looked at the average PET plastic over that whole time window, it resulted in a low processing payment at the same time that the current scrap value of PET plastic was also low. Remember, when the 12-month average scrap value goes up, processing payments legally must go down. The law requires CalRecycle to adjust the processing payment rates every January 1st. Most recently, CalRecycle was legally required to recalculate the processing payment in December 2022 for 2023. To respond to changing scrap prices, CalRecycle can reassess the processing payment every 3 months to consider the latest 12-month average scrap value. That means the department was able to reassess the processing payment again in March 2023 to reflect the declining scrap value of PET. New payment rates take effect in April.
I have some additional beverage container recycling program updates. Regarding AB 793, the plastic minimum content. Today, CalRecycle will hold a hearing to conclude the public comment period for AB 793 regulations. The event information is linked to today's agenda. The law requires a post-consumer plastic recycled content standard of 15% starting January 1st, 2022, increasing to 25% in 2025 and 50% in 2030. Regarding AB 179, the governor and the legislature appropriated funds to help increase consumer access and cleaner material streams for beverage containers. The budget included language to increase innovation in the program through reverse vending machines, bag drop, and mobile recycling centers. We intend to distribute the first round of these funds later this calendar year and anticipate having some stakeholder outreach sessions in the summer. Also included in AB 179 is funding to support the goals of the Quality Incentive Program of Cleaner Material Stream. Our intent is to initiate a grant program to increase modern infrastructure for beverage containers and thermoforms. More information will be shared in the coming months, and information will be available on the beverage container listserv. Staff continue to work on a rollout plan for funds to encourage recycling centers and processors in underserved areas. SB 1013 implementation. Please be sure to check out CalRecycle's new webpage for SB 1013 announcements. Wine and distilled spirits will be entering the program beginning January 1st, 2024. This will add approximately 8,000 beverage manufacturers, distributors to the program. Staff will hold a workshop for beverage manufacturers and distributors this summer to review registration procedures and answer any questions for new participants. If you have any questions, please email us and be sure to check out the SB 1013 resources on CalRecycle's website and the YouTube channel. The Quality Incentive Payment Program was changed during 1013, and it is designed to improve the quality and marketability of empty beverage containers collected for recycling. The program has been expanded to increase overall payments from $10 million to $15 million annually and added a new requirement that eligible glass must be recycled from beverage container into another beverage container. That expansion began on January 1st, and new claim forms will be posted before the June 30th payment cutoff. We will also host an education workshop this spring to answer questions. Last but not least, Glass Market Development Program is a new program for the beverage container recycling program due to 1013. We expect to have a workshop, instructions, and a claim form available this spring for a July 1 start. Program participants will collect and track shipping reports and production recorded from July 1st through December 31st and will submit a claim form, backup documentation in January for a payment. This cycle will be repeated every 6 months for the life of the program. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. As a reminder, you can submit your public comments on any of today's agenda items. Here's how you can do it.
California wants your input on recycling and trash pollution issues. Join CalRecycle's decision-making process by submitting a public comment on any of today's agenda items. Microphones are available for those of you in the room. If you're joining remotely, just click the public meeting banner at the top of our website, then click on the public comment portal to send us your feedback. Just visit calrecycle.ca.gov. We'll address public comments at the end of the meeting.
And a quick heads up about an upcoming workshop for our covered electronic waste recycling program on April 13th at 10 a.m. We want to hear your thoughts about possible changes to the covered electronic waste recovery and recycling payment rates. Also, SB 1215 granted CalRecycle the authority to assess payment rates for collectors and recyclers annually rather than every other year. So this year, CalRecycle has the responsibility to consider and determine the recovery and recycling payment rates necessary to fund, on average, the covered electronic waste collection and recycling industry. Program staff will present the evaluation and recommendations. You can find the public notice for this event linked to today's agenda. You do need to register to watch the live proceedings online. Next on the agenda, the Mattress Recycling Council's Mattress Stewardship Program has kept over 8 million mattresses off of our streets, out of our landfills, and contributing to CalRecycle's circular economy. We have a program update next, but first let's take a look at this short video on how the mattress industry is turning California mattresses into new products.
They're big, they're bulky, and Californians buy about 4 million new mattresses and foundations every year. Too often, many of the old mattresses used to wind up here, illegally dumped in our communities, costing California taxpayers millions a year for cleanup.
Well, mattresses aren't easy to handle, and historically, the lack of affordable and convenient recycling options led to a lot of illegal dumping.
And a lot of trash. Since mattresses don't condense well, they take up a lot of landfill space.
And it's a big waste of resources because mattresses are made from materials that are highly recyclable. Materials like steel, foam, wood.
In 2014, California passed an extended producer responsibility law that took the burden of collecting and landfilling used mattresses off of local governments, instead requiring the mattress industry to collect and recycle them. The Used Mattress Recovery and Recycling Act requires mattress manufacturers, renovators, and retailers to form a stewardship organization to develop and run a statewide recycling program.
The program contains elements to reduce illegal dumping, increase recycling, and to reduce the public cost of managing old mattresses.
Through a consumer recycling fee on each new mattress,
they pass that money along to the nonprofit stewardship organization called Mattress Recycling Council.
This stewardship organization operates the recycling program, educating consumers.
You can take a look at buybuymattress.com to learn how and where to recycle your old mattress.
Expanding convenient collection options.
Retailers are required to pick up your old mattress when you have a new mattress delivered. The program also has drop-off options. 99% of Californians now have a free mattress collection option within 15 miles of their home.
Combating illegal dumping.
This has helped California communities remove over 332,000 improperly disposed mattresses.
And transforming an old problem into new products like carpet padding, oil filters, appliances, building materials, and mulch for landscaping.
8.5 million mattresses have been recycled since 2016.
Supporting California's move to a more circular remanufacturing economy with less trash pollution and more green jobs.
Deputy Director Zoe Heller will now address the mattress recycling agenda item.
The Mattress Recycling Council submitted its revised plan to CalRecycle on January 9th, 2023 to address one requirement regarding illegal dumping specified in CalRecycle's November 15th, 2022 request for action. Staff found that the revised plan met the requirement. You can read staff's analysis on the public notice linked in this agenda item. The director must approve, maintain conditional approval, or disapprove MRC's revised plan by April 10th, 2023. Okay, moving on to tires. Each spring, CalRecycle's tire program shifts unused funds from the current fiscal year into grants or activities that need additional funding. This fiscal year, there's about $2 million total available from undersubscribed grants and other sources. $1.2 million from that total amount will be redirected to fund 7 local government waste tire cleanup grants, 1 rubberized pavement grant, an augmentation to the pelletized rubber demonstration project contract, and a UC Davis contract exploring new uses for recycled tires. The remaining $815,000 will revert to the tire fund. A full breakdown is linked to this item on today's agenda. This request was signed earlier this month to allow grant recipients time to start their projects this fiscal year. 29 of California's recycling market development zones will receive $348,000 in zone incentive funds to support local recycling businesses. California created the Recycling Market Development Zone program in the early 1990s to support businesses that use recycled materials to make new products. Since then, communities worked with the state to establish 39 local recycling market development zones where recycling businesses can get low-interest loans, technical and marketing assistance from the state, as well as local incentives. This item is delegated to me for signing.
Thanks, Zoe. Meeting California's climate and waste reduction goals would not be possible without the hard work of our cities and counties. They're responsible for implementing the local programs to use less, recycle more, and meet state environmental protection standards. CalRecycle is responsible for overseeing how well jurisdictions are implementing these programs. CalRecycle staff do this by conducting site visits, analyzing data, and reviewing jurisdictions' annual reports. The department also has the authority to conduct anytime reviews to make sure cities and counties are in compliance with mandatory commercial recycling and mandatory commercial organics recycling requirements. Deputy Director Zoe Heller will now give the results of CalRecycle's latest compliance review.
California law requires jurisdictions to implement mandatory commercial recycling and mandatory commercial organics recycling programs. Programs must ensure businesses that generate statutory levels of waste have a recycling service or a waiver in place. CalRecycle must review the local jurisdiction's actions to implement its program for good faith effort based on express statutory factors, including, importantly, the number of businesses complying with AB 341 and AB 1826. All businesses generating statutory levels of waste must have a service or a waiver. Given that organic waste disposal has more than doubled rather than halved since 2014, and the majority of California's waste originates from commercial sources, it's time for additional measures beyond monitoring and outreach, which have not proven sufficient to achieve compliance. CalRecycle is working with jurisdictions to step up their efforts to account for businesses that are, by law, required to have recycling services or a waiver. For those jurisdictions that have regulated businesses not complying, CalRecycle is moving them farther down the path of enforcement to ensure 100% compliance. While most jurisdictions are implementing these programs to cut climate emissions and landfill disposal, CalRecycle has identified program gaps for California City. They're implementing portions of the program, but we're still seeing levels of noncompliance and a failure to demonstrate sufficient efforts to make sure all regulated commercial businesses have recycling services or a waiver. You can find a full summary of identified program gaps linked to today's agenda, as well as the jurisdiction's plan to address those gaps. CalRecycle will closely monitor the city's programs over the next 6 months. If staff finds inadequate progress to implement the plans submitted to CalRecycle or address the mandatory commercial organic recycling gaps, then CalRecycle's Jurisdiction and Agency Compliance and Enforcement Branch, JACE, will be notified that the jurisdiction should be prioritized for an evaluation. This item is delegated to me for signing.
Next, we will address our pending solid waste and tire facilities permits. Check out this quick video to see how California facilities standards help keep
Local, state, and federal agencies play different roles to enforce public health and environmental safety standards. In California, solid waste local enforcement agencies process applications, issue, and enforce permits for solid waste facilities. These include landfills, transfer stations, compost facilities, or similar operations. CalRecycle must verify permits are consistent with state requirements. Permits can only address areas within the authority of local enforcement agencies and CalRecycle. Check out the link below for more detailed information. Emergency waivers allow temporary changes to solid waste permit requirements in response to local or state disasters. Local enforcement agencies may approve the waivers, which are good for up to 120 days and may be extended. CalRecycle must review approved waivers and can condition, limit, suspend, or terminate them. Check out the link for more detailed information. For waste tire facilities, CalRecycle processes applications, issues, and enforces waste tire permits. These include requirements to make sure tires are stored and processed in a way that reduces potential threats from fire and disease-carrying vectors like mosquitoes. Check out the link for more detailed information.
Paulina Lawrence joins us now with a statewide update on facility permits. We can't hear you, Paulina, so I don't know if you're muted.
I got it. I'm sorry. That was me.
Have to do it once every meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Well, first off, I'd like to start with those solid waste facility permits that the department concurred on since the last monthly meeting. The department concurred on March 17th, 2023, a revised solid waste facilities permit for Blythe Sanitary Landfill. This facility is located at 1000 Midland Road in Riverside County. Action was needed April 25th, 2023. Also, the department concurred on March 21st, 2023, Old Durham Wood, Inc., located at 1156 Oroville Chico Highway. This is in Butte County. This is a revised solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed March 24th, 2023. Continuing on the agenda is Del Norte Regional Recycling and Transfer Station, located at 111 South Del Norte Boulevard in Ventura County. This is a modified solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed and has been revised to May 8th, 2023. Next, continuing on the agenda is Basco Road landfill, located at 4001 North Basco Road. This is located in Alameda County. It is a revised solid waste facilities permit, and the revised action date needed is April 7th, 2023. New to the agenda is Maxwell Transfer Station, located at 3852 Old Highway 99 West in Colusa County. This is a modified solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed May 1st, 2023. Preliminary review of the permit package indicates the following changes. Replacing the permitted maximum traffic volume of 76 vehicles per day with the following language stating traffic will be regulated as per Title 14 California Code of Regulations, Section 17418.3 under traffic control. Next up is Aerojet Waste Consolidation Unit. This facility is located at 12353 White Rock Road in Sacramento County. It's a new solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed May 9th, 2023. Preliminary review of the permit package indicates the following design parameters. The proposed facility will be a solid waste disposal site. The facility will not be open to the public and will only be allowed to accept waste generated from remediation projects located within the property owned by the operator, including clean closure of the Aerojet landfill. Permitted maximum tonnage is 12,000 tons per day. Permitted traffic volume is 520 vehicles per day. Permitted acreage is 70 acres with 50 acres for disposal. Design capacity is 1 million cubic yards, and the estimated closure year is 2035. Next up is San Francisco Solid Waste Transfer and Recycling Center, located at 510 Tunnel Avenue. This is in San Francisco County. It's a revised solid waste facilities permit, and action is needed by May 13th, 2023. Preliminary review of the permit package indicates the following design parameters. Increase in the total permitted area from 22 acres to 24 acres, modifications to the permit conditions, and updates to the transfer processing report. Next up, I'd like to go over those waivers received since the February public meeting. First up, we have Ventura County. This is for Gold Waste Recycling Facility on March 7th, 2023. The Ventura County Resource Management Agency, local enforcement agency, issued a temporary waiver for term stipulated agreement for permit conditions for 4C and 4D until May 31st, 2023. This is due to a temporary emergency resulting from COVID-19. Next up, we have Orange County. This is for Rainbow Transfer and Recycling, Inc. On February 9th, the Orange County Local Enforcement Agency granted an emergency waiver of the storage time for the source-separated recycled waste until March 10th, 2023, due to the emergency resulting from the winter storms. On March 10th, 2023, the LEA did grant an extension to this waiver until April 10th, 2023. Next up, we have 3 emergency waivers resulting from the March 2023 floods for Tulare County. The first one is for Visalia Disposal Site. On March 17th, 2023, the Tulare County Health and Human Services Local Enforcement Agency granted an emergency waiver for the following: origin of waste, rate of inflow of storage, transfer, processing, or disposal of waste, type and moisture content of solid waste, hours of facility operations and storage time before transfer, processing, or disposal of non-hazardous waste until July 15th, 2023. These terms and conditions also go for the next following 2 facilities: Woodville Disposal Site and Teapot Dome Disposal Sites. The LEA did grant emergency waivers on the same day for the similar condition, for the same condition. Next up, we have Nevada County, which is a McCourtney Road Transfer Station. On March 17th, 2023, the Nevada County Department of Environmental Health Local Enforcement Agency granted an emergency waiver for the removal of recyclable material from 48 to 72 hours until April 16th, 2023. This is due to the emergency resulting from the severe winter storms and snowfall. Back to you, Maria.
Thanks so much, Paulina. That is it for the structured agenda items, and we now just want to let you know that you can find information on any of these agenda items by going to CalRecycle's homepage and clicking on the public meeting web banner at the top of our site for a link to the agenda and associated public notices. Now it's time for public comments. Chief Deputy Director Mindy McIntyre is here to facilitate that. Good morning, Mindy. Do you have the, oh, sorry, I did it. Yeah. I did it again. Are there any folks in the room who have any comments?
Good morning. I'm Heidi Sanborn, the Director of the National Stewardship Action Council. And I wanted to start by thanking you again for your focus on the circular economy. And we would like to add the word equitable. We always put equitable in there as well. And just to remind everybody what that means, it's really eliminating waste and pollution at the source first, then keeping materials in motion, and then regenerating the natural systems that we've harmed. And to the first point about turning off the spigot, I call it, eliminating waste and pollution at the source, I wanted to highlight a couple of studies that really concern me that came out in the last couple of weeks. One is regarding plastics. They did a study in England when they resection tissue for heart disease. They pull from a vein in the leg, and they took that vein tissue and put it under a microscope. And they found that 15 microplastics per gram of vein tissue is in live arteries. They think that because their failure rate of those resections within 10 years are about 40%. They're actually concerned that these microplastics are causing inflammation of the vein, causing clogs, and heart disease. If that does not concern people, I don't know what will. And so I just wanted to highlight this to everybody. We have got to turn off the spigot. We are being literally poisoned by plastics, and it's affecting our bodies in ways that we don't even understand yet. And the genie's out of the bottle. So I just wanted to highlight that. And I think that we need to do a lot more work with the healthcare industry about the impacts, the long-term impacts of the pollution we're being exposed to. The other study that was highly concerning is that PFAS are being found high levels of, well, I shouldn't say high levels, levels of fluorine, which represent PFAS, are being found in toilet paper. Literally, we are all being exposed to these chemicals repeatedly, and they're bioaccumulating in our bodies. They cause cancer, and they cause reproductive harm and endocrine disruption. I personally have 2 nodes on my thyroid. Why do I have that? I have no idea. Doctors can't explain it, but it affects weight gain. It affects a whole bunch of things. We're all being exposed to these chemicals daily and being poisoned against our will. And I would really ask the state of California to turn off the spigot on PFAS. And we're handling this one product at a time. It's not fast enough. It's becoming ubiquitous in our water supply. And I just wanted to highlight that. And then in the Recycling Commission, I also wanted to say, in turning off the spigot, we recommended that, as chair, that was one of our #1 recommendations, that we turn off the spigot on HHW and make the producers pay for all of the HHW. Just wanted to remind everybody of that, because to me, that's a very important thing. It's toxics, and it's costing local governments a whole lot of money. I'd rather see the HHW grants not going to build new facilities for the public to run and pay for. I'd like to see the producers start paying for it. And last, on the video on mattresses, I just want to say of note that it was listed as an EPR bill, but to us it's called a stewardship bill, because it's actually taking a visible fee from the consumer and handing it to a public or to a private entity to manage, just like the carpet program. We've never liked that model, although we thank the mattress group for doing such a much better job than the carpet group. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Sanborn. Those studies would be great. If you could send those on to us, that would be great. And I will also share those with our colleagues over at DTSC, who are doing so much work on green chemistry, as you know, and have been working on for so many years. That the most important part of a circular economy, as William McDonough highlighted in Cradle to Cradle, is about design, and that goes very much to how do we prevent toxic exposure. So thank you so much for those comments.
Do we have any more comments in the room? Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Will Lorenzi. I'm president of Smart Planet Technologies. We're a California corporation working on coatings for paper packaging to make them more sustainable. So, which is an important topic for all of this, especially with SB 54 and 1335. Also, through the years of being president of the company, I've become quite an expert in packaging as well, packaging technologies and other things like that. And I've had some good interaction with Zach and Martine as they were looking at implementing 1335 on some of the materials, on what would be classified as recyclable, what would be classified as compostable. How do you decide which products wind up on the list and which products don't? I'm just going to make a couple points here, but you'll see that the ongoing debate is, what is the definition of recyclable? What's the definition of compostable? And then what is a plastic? These are the things that come up, and they're really, really hard things to basically get to the bottom of. But it's shaping the direction of innovation and shaping the direction of the success of this is by getting to clear definitions. I have a lot of knowledge and experience of the what other countries have done, particularly in Europe and Australia. Australia, just like SB 54 has a 2032 date, Australia has a date of 2025. So I get to see very clearly what they're up against with less than 2 years to go. Versus where we have a lot more time here. So that's a lot of advice that I can lend to the process. I've enjoyed working with Zach and Martine. I just want to talk to a situation that happened as we were picking products that would be acceptable on the list there. We helped with basically helping them to identify there's new microplastic and nanoplastic coatings that go on paper packaging that expose people directly to nanoparticles, the size of which are what Heidi just mentioned, that are actually able to cross blood-brain barrier and do other things. Those are advancements in, if you're going to call them advancements in packaging that may not be things that would be in the direction that everyone would like to see changes in packaging. After helping out on a couple other items, they were told they couldn't speak to us anymore, and I was referred to CalRecycle's attorney, who basically said if there's any review of additional packaging, CalRecycle will make that decision themselves and within the next 5 years. I do want to let you know, just as an expert in packaging, that on the SB 1335 approval list, there are products that I would not categorize as recyclable and I would not categorize as compostable. These are very apparent to people who have expertise in the packaging industry, but may not be apparent to people who are looking at the historical based technologies that are out there. But the packaging industry is clever and will find ways to basically work around that. And there are some that are highly suspect that really should be investigated and not just put off for 5 years. It's not fair for companies to basically maybe have potentially misrepresented what the product actually is and to find themselves on that list. Our product technology right now can't qualify, and that's one thing I'll talk about, the definition of recyclability, but we certainly don't like to see that we basically abided by the rules there and hope to change it in these kind of conversations versus basically misrepresenting the product. So that's with SB 1335. So I'd like to ask, is CalRecycle, do they have a process in place where packaging engineers are doing more assessment sooner than 5 years to reassess products and not just take their word for it that these products are recyclable or compostable, or that they are the materials that have been represented? And is there packaging engineers that are going to be involved directly? You know, it's sort of a trust but verify, right? We appreciate the submission, and these are the things you're saying, but we do need to verify, and it needs the eye of someone from the packaging industry.
Yeah, well, thank you for your comments, and appreciate the extra level of information that you provided to the team and to me. And I think we should have a follow-up meeting to discuss the specifics. You know, what staff have shared is what's in our existing statute and regulations and where our authority lies. And I mean, you were familiar with the process in developing the 1335 regs and how various materials ended up on the list, and also what's required in the submission from manufacturers and their applications. So I think this is certainly worth taking a deeper dive into, and I'd like to offer a follow-up meeting so we can discuss further.
That'd be great. Yeah, I wanted to keep the line of communication open. It looked like we couldn't, and the lawyer said, you know, you can sue these companies if you like. And I go, that's not the approach that we're looking for. What we're trying to do is basically advise CalRecycle so the best decisions are made on what's on the list. So thanks for that. I appreciate that. The other item is, and this goes back to also the definition of recyclable, is that from our perspective as an innovator in coatings, that it looks very apparent that the guidelines for what's recyclable and what compostable are largely based on getting the existing materials recycled and getting the existing materials composted, but it leaves an innovation gap, and we're in a bit of a chicken and egg. If you have a coating that is recyclable, passes all industry tests, right, but has some plastic in it, you can't move forward. So my company's quite successful in Australia, in Ireland, in Europe, but we're a California company, but I can't make any progress here. So I appreciate that the laws or the guidelines are being written to basically say, hey, you can't say it's recyclable unless it's already getting recycled. But when there's a new product that comes along that would be easily acceptable by all recyclers and has proven itself and is curbside recyclable in other countries, there needs to be an innovation on-ramp, because it's obviously a material that the recyclers want to get to, but the brands won't do it unless they basically get to put something on there that says this is sustainable. So I've got Pabco paper, a paper mill says, we would take your materials all day, coated paper materials with your coating all day, but where is it? I can't, you have to have it. Allen Company has volunteered to basically, not volunteer, but they want to basically set up programs that basically collect these materials because they recognize these are highly valuable paper products if you can address the coating issue. And we have and proven that, but where can we pick up the materials? And this can't, because the brands won't do anything, because we don't get to say something special about the product. So one example I brought, and this is a little gift to keep, but I hope it sets the ideal of the goal. It's okay to bring this up and hand here. So in Australia, this is gift wrap made from coffee. This wouldn't be possible with regular paper cups, but with a coating that we've developed, all these materials become as easy to process as uncoated paper. The coating becomes classified as a clay coating and not as it does contain some plastic, but for the purposes of recycling, it falls in the category of clay coating, so it's easily removed in the entire process. So it allows all those paper to be done. So it's just an additive that goes into polymer, and then all of a sudden all these materials become recyclable. It's been hard to try to get the innovation seen because a lot of the policies are being written are, let's address the recyclability of current products versus lack of an on-ramp. So I just want to open up communications to, certainly before regulations are made, is there a vehicle for innovations that should be taken into account? And does the laws are written, but then within the law, do you have the flexibility to basically take on innovation and basically give that on-ramp?
Thank you so much. That is an incredibly complicated question that you just asked, because the preface that you had on that is within the law, and it is the interpretation of that law that we are confined by. I have a quick question. So what happens to this paper after I've wrapped my gift in it? Is it recyclable? Yeah, it's recyclable. That's uncoated paper. It's all the coating has been removed in the previous, when it was paper cups. The coating is gone. That's just regular paper, and that once again can get recycled again and again. The key is when you turn the plastic coating to perform like a clay coating, the recycling systems are fully comfortable in handling clay coatings. So we remove the entire coating out of it, but it works just as well, costs the same, works the same. Packaging industry is totally happy. Everyone is happy, but it needs to push it forward. Brands change over when they get to basically say that they're saying eco things on the package. And if we can't put those marks on there because we're not at 60% of the municipalities, then we don't, it's a chicken and egg thing, and we basically don't, we don't advance it. Also, as we're an engineering company, we're not the packaging manufacturer, so all the packaging companies can participate in this, all the paper mills, we just invented it. So it's an open market for everyone to participate. But they'll do it when they get to put the mark on the package. So. Well, that's very helpful. So the general question, not specific to 1335 or 54, but the general question of can you have input on, in terms of innovation in the regulatory development, that does very much, we have a statewide process in the APA on having input and comments on the regulation development. I think your question is more now that the regulations are in place, where are there places that we can make changes either to our process or potentially the regulations, which is a huge undertaking. But yeah. I think sitting down with Zoe and her team, and I would be happy to join to talk about how do we ensure that our process is including innovation, because that is very much as we drive towards the circular economy, where we're trying to get in all of our programs is a push towards faster innovation, which clearly your company is working towards in terms of the engineering. So we'd be happy to sit down with you to talk about what the constraints are in our current process, and see if we can't work through that to ensure innovation. But I hear the concern that you're raising in terms of if the product isn't already on the market, how do we get it on the market? Yeah, so right. that is a fair concern, and we'd be happy to sit down and have that conversation. And I really appreciate you bringing this. Again, in the public setting, this is really important for our partners who are in advocacy and other fields. This is a really important conversation.
Great, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you will leave your contact information with Zoe, we'll schedule a time.
Great, thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Are there any more comments in the room? Okay, so now we will move to our public comments that have been submitted online through our public comments portal, and our Chief Deputy Director, Mindy McIntyre, is here to facilitate that process. Good morning, Mindy.
Good morning. Okay, we have quite a few comments, so we'll just run through them. First comment is from Ricardo. Did not provide an organization, and it's about the PET processing payment. So we know the PET processing payment has been increased for April 1st, 2023, and although the minimal amount helps, it is not nearly enough to sustain the losses from weather and decrease volume. And then he asks if the processing payment will be increased in July.
And actually, Amy, before you jump in, I know a lot of the comments as we were scrolling through have to do with the PET processing payment. And so maybe what we could do is have a general answer that encompasses the majority of those.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Amy.
Thank you all for your comments on processing payments. And we will review and adjust the processing payments as necessary, as allowed by the statute, for a July 1st start using the scrap value. We do not currently have the scrap amounts from the processors to predict the July processing payments. So that information will be noticed by the middle of June. Thank you.
The next comment is from Juan from Sanchez Recycling, and it's referring to a request or proposal to drop the daily load limit to 50 pounds for PET and aluminum to 500 pounds. And they're just asking about that proposal.
Thank you. There is no proposed change that I am aware of to change the load limits at any of our certified recycling centers.
Okay, next question is from Valerie Lake, or comment, I should say, One Earth Recycling, noting that they are a small recycler and would like to open more locations in unserved supermarkets, but are not able to because the supermarkets are not allowing them to open, and asking if there are any government incentives that could encourage landlords to work with them, or is there an assumption that the unserved supermarkets will be assigned option B? If so, they're asking if CalRecycle can enforce between now and 2025 when option B goes away.
Thank you, Valerie. And I know you've been working with my staff, and we're really excited about the opportunity for you to open more recycling centers in unserved convenience zones. I am not aware of any government incentives to encourage landlords to work with recycling centers. However, with the changes in SB 1013 eliminating option B in January 1st, 2025, I think it might be a positive opportunity for recycling centers. We do enforce option A and option B and will continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Next comment is from Eileen Reiner from Tri-Said Community Recycling, asking about enforcement that is occurring at that site.
Thank you for reaching out and also for your work in workforce development. While it would not be prudent for us to have the inspector identify themselves on a visit, we can provide training for your staff and neighboring recycling centers in the coming months. Many of our trainings were suspended during COVID, but we are reinitiating the trainings. Please contact me directly and we can ensure something is set up near your location. Thank you.
The next comment is from Leonard Lang on various BCRP issues, requesting tracking of recycler closures for 2023, asking about financial data on recyclers and the processing payment, asking about the impact of the April processing payment increase, and does CalRecycle have preliminary numbers for any change in July, which I believe Amy already mentioned, and the statutory authority behind the current increase as well.
Thank you, Mr. Lang, for your comments. Yes, I spoke about the processing payments earlier. In regard to your statement about recycling centers, we are notified when recycling centers, when they terminate operations, but we do not always know the reason behind their termination. Thank you.
Next comment is submitted by Jeff Dunleavy from Ming's Recycling, discussing recent closure of a recycling center at Ming's and alleging that the closure is caused by CalRecycle enforcement.
I'm going to take this one, and apologies, it's a very, very, very long comment, so I asked that Chief Deputy McIntyre not read the whole comment. But I think, to the summary, Mr. Dunleavy from Ming's is asserting that our enforcement actions and the work of our enforcement team led to Ming's needing to close their recycling centers. And while we are or collection centers, while we are very sad and disappointed to see that Ming's will no longer have their BCRP collection centers, I want to emphasize that CalRecycle has a fiduciary and statutory responsibility to enforce our statute. And that if CalRecycle is taking enforcement actions, it is because those actions are warranted pursuant to our inspections and that there has been a violation of the statute. I had conversations with Mr. Dunleavy several weeks ago about some specific concerns, and I am more than happy to have those conversations about concerns that our recycling center partners have. But I think it's really important to emphasize that CalRecycle's responsibility is to enforce the statute and to ensure that the nickels and dimes that Californians are paying for their beverage containers are going back for the recycling of their beverage containers and going back to the consumers. And the statute is very specific as to how we're to do that, and that our violations or our enforcement of violations is an important component of that. So happy to have conversations with our recycling centers. I was just talking to Deputy Director Cameron about potentially scheduling a webinar. I know over the last several years with the pandemic and closed downs and not doing in-person inspections, that perhaps our recycling center partners are a little out of practice as to what those inspections include, what the law requires in terms of collection and bailing. And so it may be beneficial for us to schedule a webinar to to remind our recycling center partners exactly what the statute requires and how we will be doing those inspections. So we will be, the Deputy Director Cameron and I and Chief Deputy Director McIntyre will be discussing how best to do that and when to do that. And again, while I'm very sad to hear that Mings, who's been a longtime collection partner with BCRP, will no longer be collecting here in Sacramento, we are hoping that our other partners who have not had those challenges with their inspections and enforcement will be able to continue to serve the community of Sacramento.
Next comment is from Eduardo Contreras from A's Recycling, and also commenting about a potential daily load limit, which I believe Amy has already addressed. No, it's not clear what proposal is being discussed. So.
For those entities who have submitted comments on the daily load limit, if you could please email the portal or the BCRP staff with the specific proposal that you are referencing or some context of what you're requesting, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Next comment is from Susan Collins from Container Recycling Institute. For the beverage container program, are the new convenience zone maps available? Have all dealers been notified if their status has been changed from unserved to served? Have dealers that are newly included in the program due to the zone size increases been notified of their new requirements? How many new dealers are now obligated to participate in the program?
Thank you. The list of convenience zone status is available on our website, calrecycle.ca.gov, and then if you type convenience zones in the search bar, that'll get you there the fastest. Yes, dealers impacted as a result of zone expansion in SB 1013 have been notified of their new status, and we hosted a webinar on February 8th inviting all dealers to participate, and that is available on our YouTube channel, and the PowerPoint slide deck is also available on our website. And I do not know the specific number of new dealers at this time. Thank you.
Susan also asked about the semi-annual report, which I know is in draft form and will be available soon. The next comment is from Anthony Bonilla from Universal Service Recycling, and about missing labels. I would like to comment on the mandatory fee that comes along with missing labels. With more and more recycling centers closing down, our lines are getting longer, and it is becoming more and more difficult to inspect every label and every bottle. We service over 1,000 customers a day through all of our facilities and do our best to inspect all the beverage containers. I do not agree that one missing label should result in $1,000 or more fee. There was never any intention of defrauding the fund or program. The inspectors are asking us to find a needle in the haystack.
Thank you for your comment, Anthony, and for meeting with Director Wagner and I several weeks ago. We do not penalize any recycling center for just one missing label. If this is something you feel you have experienced, please reach out directly and we will provide further details surrounding previous inspections. Thank you.
The next comment is from Mike O'Donnell from the Mattress Recycling Council. The Mattress Recycling Council would like to express our gratitude for staff review and determination that all outstanding program plan conditions have been met. CalRecycle support and confidence in our team's vision and strategy are important for the future of mattress recycling in California and a more sustainable future.
Thank you for your comment, Mike.
We have the comment from Mr. Lorenzi, who provided the comment in the room. So it's quite long. Thank you. Next comment from Veronica Prado from the Resources Recovery Coalition of California. Where can we find the clip of Yolo County landfill composting operations? Great video and well done.
All videos that are presented during CalRecycle's monthly public meetings are made available the next day on our YouTube channel.
We have an anonymous comment asking for an update on the carpet program. is CalRecycle still running it, and asking about the fund condition.
Thank you for the comment. Yes, we are still in the process of implementing the contingency plan. We anticipate that CARE will be submitting a revised plan to the department soon to address the conditions that we acknowledged in the RFA that was presented last month. Per the contingency plan, we're working closely with CARE to understand the fund condition and understand what, at this juncture, in implementation of the contingency plan, CalRecycle is required to implement the previously approved plan. So until there's a new approved plan in place. So we are understanding that there are concerns about the fund condition. We anticipate a submittal by CARE shortly for a revised plan, and we will move forward from there. Thank you.
That's the end of the comments.
Excellent. I want to thank everyone for participating today and for the, as usual, incredibly thoughtful comments, questions, and interactions with the department. Every month I go through these meetings with our staff here at CalRecycle and all of you, and I feel more invigorated for the next month and the work that we're doing with all of these partners. So thank you all for participating. For those of you who battled the weather outside to join us today, thank you so much for being here at Cali, PA. With us, and with that, I will turn it back over to Maria.
Thanks. You can also find the videos from today's meeting posted on CalRecycle's YouTube channel, as Jessica mentioned, by the end of the day tomorrow. Today's processing payment description video is available right now on our YouTube channel in both English and Spanish. As we work to make our communications accessible, inclusive, and as relevant to Californians as possible, we welcome your feedback through CalRecycle's public comment portal. Have a great rest of your morning and week, and we will see you next month. Thank you.